That's how I was exposed to a lot of my service work. My mom had 5 kids. She did Meals on Wheels when we were all growing up, so that was the first service work I did, was accompanying my mom. And so it's a great program that really connects a lot of people, both socially and obviously with their food. So I've got a soft spot in my heart for Meals on Wheels.
Is this the kind of program that is in danger after what happened last night?
Well, I was really disappointed and saddened last night by the majority of the Metro Council's vote to, cut very vital services in our community. So ambulances, police, firefighters, codes and regulations, senior centers, community centers, swimming pools, and then important programs like this too. So we got to look at everything with the severity of the cuts that they put forward. Most everything's on the table, unfortunately, and we'll work through it to the best ability that we can.
How do you explain what happened last night?
That's a good question. I don't think the council members that voted for the cuts put the personal, tied it personally to the people that are going to be impacted. When you take a look at our budget already, we're lean. As you know, we're 4th lowest of our 19 cities that we compete with in terms of ratio of city employees to population. In other words, we're lean already. And so the type of cuts that the Metro Council mandated last night, $35 million in this next budget year, are going to really cut into the muscle of the city. And I just don't think they put personal faces behind it. It's easy to say it's a spreadsheet, cut this and cut this, but I want people to come and talk to folks like this and say, your programs can be impacted. I think these are important programs for our city, and I don't think the people that voted against the increase in revenue that we needed really put the face behind it.
What do you make of GLI's statement last night lamenting the outcome of the vote, and do you think they did enough to help out?
Well, it's important that our business community supports the whole city, and we're going to need them now more than ever, but GLI could have been a lot more active than what they were.
So, as far as you're concerned, what happens next? What now?
Well, my job is to take the cuts that the Metro Council voted for, $35 million, and then put them into a budget that needs to be presented to the council around no later than April 25th or so, and then they're going to see how difficult this is going to be because each one of these numbers behind $35 million represents a firefighter, a police officer, a senior center, a library, an ambulance, and they'll have to weigh the pros and cons of these things. So there's a lot of very difficult decisions coming before us.
The budget that you propose in April, will it kind of look like, the cuts look like what you presented in February as the possible cuts that would come if there wasn't any new revenue?
Yeah, in broad strokes it will be. There could be some changes here and there, but that
It'll be across the board?
it's going to have to be across the board, yes.
Was there no other way to cut down on other things, maybe expenditures from other things versus taking away key components such as police officers and firefighters and things of that sort?
Well, remember, this is a $65 million problem. So one of the ironies behind the people that voted against revenue is none of them produced a plan. So this is what we were kept waiting for. If you want to be a critic of the need for taxes to provide basic services, you have a responsibility as an elected official to present a responsible plan. None of them did it. So now that's what's going to be taking place. So you'll hear people talk about small, little things. We've got to have $65 million. This isn't a question of, doing a better job of ordering office supplies. We can do that, but that's not $65 million. That's just a drop in the bucket. Very disappointing that the opponents of this did not come up with a plan of their own.
Do you think this is going to have an impact on the city's bond rating? Are you concerned about that at all?
Well, it depends on how we address the issues, right? So the rainy day fund, for instance, it's important that its level is kept where it's at because that's for one-time surprises. So we have a healthy rainy day fund. That's one thing that bonding agencies look like. They also look at, are we responsible in terms of the way that we bring our revenue in and then we spend it. So we will be responsible. We will balance our budget, and and that's what the bonding companies look for.
Will you come back and ask for additional revenue at another point in the future, do you think?
Well, one of the limitations we have, obviously, is the type of revenue that we have for us. So not only has this pension obligation, I want everybody to remember this is what's been put on us. We paid our bills 100% of the time, but the Kentucky retirement system, with the $50 million increase in pension, is what's forced this whole thing to happen. And then from Frankfurt, we don't have many tools at all to increase revenue. So as people absorb these $35 million here in the first year and see what kind of pain it brings to the community, I'm hopeful that some of these council members will say, this is not what we intended here, and we need to rectify it in some type of way.
Is this last night's vote a reflection at all of how you handle this?
I don't know. I mean, that's a good question. Obviously, I've thought about that many times. People were saying I was scaring people with what these cuts could be. I mean, I think my job is to tell the truth. The truth is scary behind something like this, and we're about ready to see that as we put together the budget and it rolls out. So there's no one perfect way to do any of these. I just am disappointed that I believe some of our council people didn't rise to the occasion to protect their constituents.
We got time for one more question.
At what point will you go back to Frankfurt and try to get some help there, and what help is available from Frankfurt?
Yeah, we've been working with Frankfurt to increase revenue now for the 8 years that I've been mayor. Obviously, most notably the local option sales tax. This last session, it was about the restaurant tax. That could produce some significant revenue for us. It would help alleviate the problems that we're having. So we will start in the interim session to start educating about why we need the restaurant tax. Many other cities in Kentucky already have it. That could produce $15 to $20 million of revenue for us. Much of that will be exported to people that don't live in our city. So we'll be hard at work on a variety of topics. One is the budget, another is a Frankfurt strategy. But we'll keep the work up that we've been doing. So it's a serious time for our city, obviously, and we're going to need our people in the city and our businesses to step up in ways that they hadn't before. There's not going to be as much public money available to help many institutions that are worthy of help. So people that think there needs to be a smaller government, we need them to step up and be more charitable and help these type of organizations.
Okay, thank you guys.
Okay. Thank you all.